Drugs like anabolic steroids, alcohol, and marijuana have been popular for years, but there's been an increasing popularity with student athletes in the past few years. This is a problem because student athletes have to be at their peak when they perform. They need to be at their peak mentally, physically, and emotionally. Alcohol is a depressant. This impairs judgment and coordination, and it is harmful to youth, especially since youth's brains are still developing. Along with this drug, it also causes confusion and dizziness. This is a problem when you're on the athletic field, no matter if it's football, basketball, softball, baseball. If their mind is not at the game, it can cause them to get hurt or someone else on the team or on the other team to get hurt. Marijuana is another drug. This drug contains something called THC, which is a psychoactive drug. This drug triggers the brain to release cells that release dopamine, and dopamine makes the brain think that you're happy. This is why this drug is becoming so popular with teens, especially with a lot of the teens who are depressed and have emotional issues right now. But with this drug, there are negative effects too. This drug has problems with coordination. Your coordination is decreased, and also there's a problem with memory, judgment, and perception. Some athletes and users also have problems with anxiety, and they have paranoid thoughts. With this, they can see things, maybe like hallucinations and stuff, or they think someone's watching them. Having problems like this on the athletic field, or even just the perception, maybe you're an outfielder and there's a fly ball, a routine fly ball coming towards you, and your perception is off because of these drugs, and you miss that fly ball, or it hits you and you get injured. Anabolic steroids are another drug. This drug increases muscle mass and strength, which is why it's very popular among athletes and not as much in the regular population, even though it is becoming more popular in just regular public with the demands of looking great or strong or having that nice body that everyone wants to have. There are negative effects to this drug though. There's temperament problems like aggressiveness. This is why this drug became so popular during war times, because people wanted their soldiers to be aggressive or be stronger. But with that muscle mass increase, there's also an increase of cardiovascular muscle or your heart muscle. And that's where this drug becomes really, really dangerous to athletes, especially because as an athlete, you're increasing muscle already. You're increasing that heart muscle to pump more blood through that body quicker. And when that happens, your heart will hypertrophy or get bigger. If you increase it with anabolic steroids as well, it can cause it to become too large and not be able to pump blood enough. And this can cause cardiovascular problems and heart problems, which is where it's coming bad for athletes. We've had some athletes that have fallen and had a heart attack on the floor at the age of 17 even when they use steroids. With these drug effects on the body and brain, they can cause danger to the user and the people around them. With the number increasing of drug users and of drug users in young adults and teens, there is an increase in drug and alcohol-related incidents and accidents in the United States. Some states, because of this, are starting to require student athletes be drug tested, randomly, of course. According to the Drug Detection Report, in 1999, Congress passed a bill that introduced random drug testing with parental consent. Later that year, it was also discovered that this did not go against the Fourth Amendment of those students. These tests, though, do not subject the athletes to anabolic steroid testing. But once these students, if they are good enough to get to the college level and they're in the NCAA tests for steroids. And with this, I believe that if we tested our athletes when they were younger, it would cause less of them to get caught in college for using. And it could also make more of those athletes who didn't use and were respectable and they were clean all through high school make it to the college level more, because those athletes who are cheating by using those drugs and getting to the college level wouldn't get to the college level necessarily. Even though some schools have made the strides to decrease the number of drugs and drug users in their student athletes, I believe more can be done. Along with drug testing, there's always the cost, and drug testing is not cheap in high schools, and that's why a lot of the high schools don't have it right now. But I believe one option could be taking out some of the less common drugs that are now being used. That might have been more common earlier in the 1990s, but are less common now. And adding things like anabolic steroids to these tests. If the expanding schools cannot do this, then maybe they can help schools around the state fund for the drug tests that they can't get as it is now. And I'm hoping that states will realize how important this is, and they'll start funding tests for these schools, or helping other schools keep these kids safe, and finding a way, giving them options, like maybe they can drug test so many months out of the year, but not every month or once a year, but still try to give that option so that we can keep our athletes a little safer. In conclusion, the number of athletes and young adults using drugs and steroids and stuff have increased, and with this there's an increase of the number of endangered athletes and all the students and public around them. We can't stop everyone from using drugs, but we can stop our athletes and some other students, hopefully, by using random drug testing. The number is increasing, but hopefully soon it will decrease. This is a hope because drugs like this affect the minds and health of all of our students and young adults. For example, these things can do stuff such as make your grades slip, or simple pop flies can be missed in the big game, or even some young adult or athlete may make the wrong decision of getting into their motorcycle or motor vehicle and being under the influence and killing themselves or even their best friend. So let's try to do something to stop this.